and gentlemen, good evening. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the launch of this novella entitled Julie, a Victim of Drugs by Mr. Narayan Jamnudu. Ladies and gentlemen, I will begin with a quote from Kurt Cobain, an American singer who struggled with heroin addiction and depression and who committed suicide at the age of 27. Drugs, he said, are a waste of time. They destroy your memory and your self-respect and everything that goes along with your self-esteem. And I will continue with another quote, this time from a man called Wendell Berry, who happens to be an American novelist, a poet, and an environmental activist. People, he said, use drugs because their lives are intolerably painful or dull. They hate their work and find no rest in their leisure. They are estranged from their families and their neighbors. We need drugs, apparently, because we have lost each other. Indeed, in today's world, it would seem that humans, too sensitive to deal with the harshness of life, prefer to fly on clouds, even if temporarily, to make themselves believe that existing can be made of goodness. Opiates, making of them zombies, accrue, and selling lords, depending on these, turn into millionaires, selfishly patting their stomachs. After each meal, they pay themselves with the dependency of these frail souls. Ladies and gentlemen, it is more than easy to shut ourselves in our soap bubbles and pretend that drug addiction does not concern us. It is even easier to pretend that only some people get stuck in its dangerous maze. Yet, drug addiction is a severe problem which the whole world, and not only Mauritius, is facing, so much that combating drugs has become one of the main issues of our concerned stakeholders and leaders. Addiction is more than destructive. It touches people from all strata of the society, whether they be high-flying professionals or the downtrodden. Drug addicts are those who remain invisible and who realize not that this invisibility of theirs can destroy, in return, those who surround them. Families get shattered, homes get broken, life stops revolving, and the promises that the future holds just get flushed down the drain of despair and gloom. I read Julie with a very curious and inquisitive state of mind, and was moved as I witnessed her downfall into decrepitude because of what seemed to be attractive to her. Love, during the adolescent days, can seem to be a most reliable refuge, but can a 17 or even an 18-year-old be qualified as being mature enough as to recognize love in its purest form and even deal with it as a responsibility? Julie gets strapped into drugs by her boyfriend Clifford, a boy who certainly did not love her. She fell for his sweet words when she told him, "Love is something you can't describe, like the look of a rose, the smell of the pain, and the feeling of forever. Love is a frame in which we paint our unique lives." And he replied, "I promise to love you with every inch of my heart." Her love story unfortunately backfires and brings her to the state of craving for opiates, and this, in turn, pushes her to meet with her downfall through the act of selling her body to strangers and getting in return an incurable disease which leads her to her death. Julie represents all the girls of the world. Julie is not to be labeled. Rather, she is to be taken as a victim of life and of her own frailness. The life of the young adolescent girl can be quite bland, without a boyfriend, without the exalt of the nightlife, without the glamour of feeling loved and cared for when weighed against the peer pressure and the judgmental criticisms. And like a moth enthralled by the light, Julie got pulled into a shadowy mechanism which brought her to a state of self-destruction, and illustrates thus how life, being so like a prison, is bound to be harsh. The power that thrusts us here is bound to be merciless and cruel, while expecting us to kneel in front of it, seeking repentance and redemption. Escaping the reality through temporary and addictive rides on false and colorful clouds will have us ending nowhere except going in circles in this unexplained world, revolving upon itself and binding us to the reactions of our actions. Opiating reality, submerging psychotic abuse, alarming concern, immersing and suffocating us in a sea of revulsion, in which either we drown in its waters and turn into its foams, or we reach the shores guided by our intrinsic belief in the blinking lights of our perception of a lighthouse. Well, that was my introduction. I shall now leave the floor to the author, Mr. Jamnudu, who will say a few words about his book.
Among us, and also to Mr. Kundan and the staff of Education de Saint-Jean. My heartiest thanks also go to the chairperson and the board members of President's Fund for creative writing who have sponsored for the publication of the above-mentioned book. I must also thank the management of the Hennessy Park Hotel for the hospitality shown to us this evening. Last but not the least, I must also thank you all for your presence here. Now, let me introduce myself. I am Narayan Jamnudu. I'm a writer. I've written many books, including plays and novels. I've also written many articles in local newspapers as freelance journalist. By writing Julie, a victim of drugs, certainly I have a message to pass on to my readers. You must be all aware of how drugs are killing our youngsters nearly every day. However, it's our duty to sensitize them of the misdeeds of drugs. We are bound to save our future generation, otherwise our country will be doomed. Drugs being about theft, prostitution, loss of memory, AIDS, domestic violence, murder, etc. Many families are breaking up due to the consumption of drugs. The problem of drugs is not new. It is a worldwide problem, and it has existed for many centuries. By that time, no one was caring about it. The percentage was very low, but nowadays it has taken another turn. It has become so alarming. Our society is ill, and it needs a big cure. Every day we hear people being arrested by the police somewhere for drug trafficking and its consumption. Now let's have a look at the heroine in Julie, a victim of drugs. She was a very brilliant student, always coming out first in her class. She was in fact pride of her parents and teachers. Her father always wanted her to become a doctor. Unfortunately, Julie fell into the web of drugs. She became a prostitute. She got AIDS. Finally, she died one Sunday morning, and all hopes of her parents faded away. However, we must not despise a drug addict. Instead, we have to take good care of him or her, rehabilitate him or her. For it is often said that there is always something good in everybody. I must also congratulate the various NGOs who have always tried to help the drug addicts to lead a better life. The government is actually putting its efforts to combat drugs. It is something beyond words to describe, and we citizens of Mauritius should not remain idle. We must lend a helping hand combating drugs, as the future of the coming generation is at stake. I want to see Mauritius to be a country free of drugs. Shall we be able to attain the goal? Yes, together we can. We must put a stop to the misdeeds of drugs. The lesson we can get out of this book is to keep away from drugs. Life is a gift of God. It is sacred. We must not destroy it. We must rather preserve it. Thank you.
Motivez-vous justement pour écrire ce livre?
La drogue peut finir nos pays, bonnes jeunes, tout ça là. Et là, on pensait à un meilleur sujet, comment dire, pour cause de la drogue. Pour sensibiliser les bonnes jeunes qui restent loin de la drogue. Sinon, nos générations pour finir, tous les jours, vous prétendez, c'est pas la police, puis arrête, qui fait comme ça. Il y a normalement ce problème-là. C'est pour ça qu'on est fait ça. Livre-là. Après, Dieu nous donne la vie. Il est sacré, mais il nous a détruit. Nous avons préservé. C'est ça mon message, tout ça.
Et ou pas au premier ouvrage, ou faire plusieurs travaux d'écriture. Dis-nous que l'inspiration finit donc pour faire Julie et Victim of Drugs. Dis-nous qui fait le motif pour faire ça. Mais est-ce qu'il y a l'intérêt particulier, qui est un message que tu as envie de faire passer à ben jeunes surtout?
Mais les jeunes, moi, je reste loin avec de la drogue. Plutôt à dans le sport, tout ça là. Pour nos pays capables d'avancer. Sinon, nos pays ne peuvent pas finir. Parce que partout, donc, partout, nous trouvons la bonne trouver. Les jeunes peuvent finir, nous trouvons génération. Ça, moi, je reste loin avec la drogue. Pour être fort actif, pour faire nos pays développer en devant.
Merci.
C'est une histoire vraie, ça, ou bien une fiction?
Non, une fiction.
Fiction?
Une fiction?
Ouais.
Comment on travaille, Julie? Parce que dans le discours, il y a une petite fille intelligente qui tourne dans la route. Il n'est pas trop un peu stéréotypé, ça? Il y a une bonne enfants intelligente qui tourne dans la route.
Il est arrivé, un exemple, on donné, qui est arrivé quand on va dans la route. Pourtant, les gens sur l'avenir, ça suffit là. Mais les bonnes pensent ça.
Qu'est-ce qu'on peut dire que dans le discours, on dit que quand il y a la drogue, il y a la prostitution, il y a la violence domestique, il y a tout ça.
Il est arrivé, on a réel, il est arrivé, ça suffit là, une prostituée, là, il y a un sida. Un exemple. Mais dans la vie réelle, il est arrivé, non? Nous avons causé tout ça là. Beaucoup de familles payent la drogue, consommation de la drogue, tout ça. Et donc, nous restons avec ça.
Mais la consommation de la drogue est internationale, ça n'est pas d'être aujourd'hui.
Dans la school internationale. Mais alors, dans nos pays, on pleure les drogues.
Mais la drogue synthétique, on peut dire là.
La drogue synthétique, on n'importe quoi. La drogue, c'est la drogue.
Au final, qui ont envie de dire, pas tout ça, pas tout ça du tout.
Pas, nous sommes avec la drogue. Comme ça, nos pays qui ont avancé, tout ça.
C'est la première fois où ça style le livre là. On dirait que c'est quatrième fois où vous coupez le quatrième livre ça?
Non, c'est tout le livre.
Huitième?
Oui, mais moi, j'ai fait affaires romantiques, politiques, sociales.
Vous disiez tout à l'heure aussi, vous êtes journaliste. C'est un travail journalistique que vous faites?
Mon écrivain l'article.
Mais ça arrive à un peu une espèce de roman qu'un journaliste fait? Ou c'est une fiction? Un peu du tout?
Des réalités. Moi, si vous voulez dire que vous avez la vérité, mais pas la réalité, c'est une fiction.
Vous avez écrit une histoire vraie, et tous. Vous avez écrit, je dis, c'est une histoire vraie Mauricienne, une vraie Tifi. Vous avez écrit un cas réel.
Un cas réel, non.
Donc, si vous avez l'occasion d'écrire un cas réel, est-ce que vous
si c'est vraiment un jeudi qui existait, qui est vraiment un enfant brillant, qui tout ça, qui fait tout ce qu'on peut dire, tu peux écrire le livre?
Ouais, c'est une belle occasion. Si vous avez un petit peu là,